My name's Jim Cooper, and I grew up here mostly in California. I grew up in a really good home. My parents loved me very much. They raised me in a Christian home, and from some of my very earliest memories were in Awana, where my mom was a leader, and she would just take me there and teach me the Bible and teach me Bible verses. And I think I accepted the Lord maybe 6 or 7 times the first couple of months I was in Awana, and I really had a very fun time enjoying life. In junior high, I really began to become aware of my own sinfulness and of my own need for God. I started asking a lot of questions in junior high, and I started talking to my friends at school. And when I was in junior high, recess was a time to talk to my friends about God and to talk to my friends about the nature of reality and the nature of life. And so I had my Catholic friends, and I had my Jewish friends, and I had my atheist friends, and I'd talk to my teachers. And in junior high, I really asked a lot of questions, and I was really beginning to develop in junior high an attitude where I didn't want to follow after Christianity at all, because it was my parents' religion. And even though I had accepted the Lord in Awana as a kid, in junior high I really developed just this sheer revulsion, this sheer rebellion against Christianity, because I didn't want to be a Christian just because my parents were a Christian. I didn't want me to just, because this is life and death. This is where I'm going to spend eternity. This is going to be how I live my life for the rest of my life. And I didn't want to just follow in my parents' footsteps, because this is important. This is something that's going to determine my future. And so in junior high, I really asked a lot of questions. I was really searching. By the time I was through with junior high, I had decided that I wanted to become a Muslim. There wasn't anything in particular that attracted me to Islam, but I just didn't want to be a Christian. And so I made the determination right out of junior high, you know, on the very trip that we were taking for the 8th grade last hurrah down to Disneyland, I made the decision that I was going to look into the evidence to Christianity so that I could show my parents how Christianity made no logical sense. And I bought The Case for Christ, and halfway through reading that book, I was on my knees repenting, asking God to forgive me. I believed that Jesus was the true and living God. Okay, now this is where most of my ministry happens, both for off-road and for some of the other ministries that I've been involved with over the years. I'm involved with an online ministry where I witness to people all over the world. 1,350 posts. I've got 364 people who get my posts every day about God, Christianity, the Bible, and all types of different issues. I've had for years ministry where I pass out DVDs and CDs relating to the gospel. Throughout high school, I still didn't want to follow Jesus. Even though I believed that Jesus was God, even though I believed that Christianity was true, even though I believed that the Bible was God's word, I didn't want to follow it in my daily life. I didn't want to follow it in terms of waking up, in terms of going to school, in terms of anything that I did. It was fine for me to live Christianity on weekends, on Sunday mornings, but I didn't want to bring it into my heart. I didn't want to let it live out in terms of how I related to people. And so it really took me another 3 years after coming to the determination that I believed Christianity to come to the point where I wanted to follow Christianity. And this happened on February 25th of 2004 when I saw on opening day The Passion of the Christ in the Lihue Theater, where I was living on the island of Kauai at the time. And I watched that movie and I believed that Jesus did this. And I went into the theater believing that Jesus was real. But I came out of that theater realizing that it was important, that what Jesus did for me mattered. It cost him something. And from that moment on, it's been an amazing journey of faith and practice. Right now, I'm volunteering in the junior high ministry because I remember that it was in junior high when I really became aware of my own quest for spiritual truth. It was in junior high when I really became aware that there were questions that were asked, that there were questions that needed to be answered, there were questions that were important. And I'm here volunteering in junior high because I care and because I want to be able to have an impact in the lives of these kids for an eternity. I want to be able to have my friends here at Off-Road to come up to me in heaven and say, I didn't even realize it, but you really made an impact on my life. I really like primitive hunting. And by primitive hunting, I mean this is a black powder gun. Okay, now this is live gunpowder. That's what it looks like, right there. And the percussion cap goes right here. Now you've got the wad. Now the 50 caliber goes inside the wad like this. Now this will go inside the front, and then you ram it down. Place in the bullet. And then ram down the bullet. Yeah, there have been times when I've found it embarrassing to talk about my faith. In fact, I think that it's more the rule than the exception, because just dealing with things like the Bible, and we're dealing with issues about Jesus being the only way to salvation, and God creating the universe, and God going to just interact with mankind and to do miracles. And I remember reading through the Bible when I was in junior high. And I remembered looking at the Bible and thinking, now God, why did you have to write that? Now God, why did you have to do that? And even as an adult, sometimes I'll be talking to an atheist, and the atheist will say, well, what about this? When you're telling me about this, and how would you do about that? And I'm looking at the Bible, and my first gut reaction is, oh God, why are you doing this to me again? Embarrassment is common, and I think that when I'm really dealing with atheists as much as I do in my own witness, one of their tactics is to just make fun of Christians and to just make fun of Christianity, because they tell me it works, because people abandon their faith because they're just embarrassed about their faith. And I remember Romans 1:17, where in that passage where Paul says, I am not ashamed of the gospel, because it is the power of salvation, because it is the power of God. And whenever I get into this moment where I'm thinking, okay, I don't want to get into one more discussion about creation and evolution. I don't want to get into one more discussion about Jesus healing a blind man using mud and spit. I don't want to get into one more discussion about the judgment at the end times. But I think about that. This is the power of God. This is the power of salvation. And in the end, it is more important for me to be able to be a witness, to be a light for the gospel, than to care about my own feelings, because I have this great privilege of being able to share with people about this great God, this great and living God that we serve. And embarrassment will come, but it's important that we go through this, because I want to share the love of God with people. And if that costs me a couple of blushes to be able to have this great privilege, then it's worth it. It's worth it.